it out. We gotta work it out. We're all in this thing together. We gotta work it out. We gotta work it out. Just because you live high on the hill and I live down here on the ground. All the things that are going on that's affecting me indirectly affect you. Whether you know it or not, we're all in this thing together. We gotta work it out. We gotta work it out. We're all in this thing together. We gotta work it out. We gotta work it out. Can't you see we're messing up the water? Where in the world can we get more water from? How smart can a man be when he pollutes precious air? That kind of thinking won't get us anywhere. We're all in this thing together. We gotta work it out. 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 All in this thing together. All together now. We gotta work it out. 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 The varieties of life are confused, being misused every day. They're sending rockets to Mars while people on Earth they starve. How long you gonna let these things keep going on? We're all in this thing together. We gotta work it out. We've got to work it out. We're all in this thing together. We gotta work it out. We've got to work it out. All in this thing together. We gotta work it out. Sisters are brothers, brothers and sisters. We all got to make this dance. We've got to stand up. We've got to stand up for the creators plan. Work it out. Work it out. Work it out. Work it out. Black and white, hey, red and brown. We all got this dance on. We've got this stand up. We've got this stand up for the creators plan.
Greetings and welcome to the HPCC TV. Welcome to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Such an honor and a privilege to have you with us on HPCC TV. How's everyone doing? Well, we'll be joined by Bishop Mike a little later. We are indeed so excited to be here with you and so glad. And if you have any questions or any comment for us throughout this show, it's only for 1 hour. Please go ahead and let us have your thoughts in the chat room. We're in Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube as well. So please go ahead and any comments that you put there, we will deal with those a little later. As I said, Bishop Mike will be here with us shortly, but I just wanted to give you some introduction as to HPCC, what we're all about, and update you as we go along with what's been happening with us, the history of HPCC. And this show kind of deals with, the past, the present, and the future. So those three stages, the past, the present, and the future. HPCC stands for Harlesden People's Community Council. And we started back in 1981. Around May of 1981 is when we started. I joined the organization around November of 1981. So I've been there from kind of like the inception, if you like, and saw everything that happened over a period of approximately 39 years to date. So I do have a little bit of knowledge based upon what's happening. I want to start just by sharing just a little video clip of it, just over a minute long, and it kind of gives a little understanding of it. It's just under 2 minutes, in fact, 1 minute and 49 seconds. So I'll let you watch this, and I'll be right back with you in just a moment.
The idea behind Bridge Park, formerly Stonebridge Bus Garage, was to provide social, recreational and business facilities for local people in North London whose needs were particularly recognised after the street rioting which occurred throughout Britain in the early 1980s. In practice, it came about when the bus depot was up for sale in 1981. A group called the Harlesden People's Community Centre bought it the following year for £1.8 million. Now, 6 years and some £3 million later, they've transformed it into a place where 6,000 people of all racial backgrounds use its sports, leisure, recreational and business facilities every week. The Prince of Wales saw many of the 32 businesses and workshops on his visit today, including this stationery and Christmas card printworks. Set up by Cecil Wilson earlier this year, he believes he couldn't have done it without the support he got from the centre.
Well, Bridge Park, as I say, have their own sort of financial team of their own, so you can always go to them to ask for support, and I've sort of known them for years since the project started. So we do talk on a very personal level, so we get offered in that sense.
You get more assistance from them, for example, than you would have done from banks if you were setting up a...
Yes, because I think banks, all they want to do is lend you the money. They're not really too worried about how you pay it back. If you can't pay it back, they just take your equipment, whereas Bridge Park's very tolerant.
The Prince spent nearly twice his allotted time at Bridge Park before unveiling the plaque which officially opened the largest multi-purpose centre of its kind in Europe. And the Prince, having given the centre a cheering launch, was himself given a cheering farewell by the local people, especially by some of the girls, as he left the new Bridge Park Centre in Grays. Christopher Rainbow for Thames News.
Praise the Lord. Well, we do have Bishop, the Right Honourable Bishop Michael Wilson, the Honourable Bishop of France. Well, he didn't start off as bishop when he was with us at HPCC. So great to have you with us, sir. And thank you so much for joining us on HPCC TV. Great to have you. And maybe you could tell the people, we're going to go straight into it because we only have 55 minutes or so left. But maybe you could start with how you came into HPCC, what year it was, and how you got involved.
Well, it's good evening to you, Brother Earl, and good evening to all the listeners and viewers. I started in HPCC. In fact, I got in touch first in 1981 as well. I used to run a summer play scheme for the local authority, London Borough of Brent, in 6 different parks. And I was expanding the work of these play schemes. And in the Stonebridge Recreation Ground, we had one of the sites. And that's how I met Leonard and the representatives of HPCC, who were at that time running the first children's carnival. I was developing that, and they wanted to be involved in the children's carnival. We had various groups come along to be involved, and I got involved that way. And then Leonard saw the way that I was organized. I had a big diary, and he said, I really would like a big diary. Can you get me one? So I did. And then he invited me along to one of the public meetings that were being held in the community with the community about how to improve the situation. So I came along to one of those public meetings with one of my lieutenants at the time. And then a year later, 1982, having graduated and gone to university to do a master's, etc., he contacted me again and said, would I be willing to help? And so I came down. He wanted to offer me the job of the kind of project manager for the project. I didn't feel I was able, I didn't have the experience to do it. So I said no, but I would work voluntarily. And so from about summer of 1982 through to about March of the following year, I worked 6 or so months voluntary.
I do remember a lot of that, actually. I remember when you came, you were quite a bright kid on the block. you were you were certainly, because you used to teach us, I don't know if you remember, you used to teach us marketing as well as French. I wasn't a good student on the French Bible studies. Do you remember any of that?
A little bit, yes. I used to teach economics, by the way, and
economics, yes, yes. Yeah.
And some of my students did pass their O levels, yes, their GCSEs.
Right. I know you got a very good understanding of the history of HPCC anyway. Maybe you can just give us an update as how you see the history and what the purpose of it really was.
Yeah, HPCC was birthed out of, I think, God intervening in the life of Leonard Johnson, the chairman. He was in prison at the time, and most of the guys and girls involved in HPCC had some sort of criminal record, which is why they were the right candidates to do the work they were doing. But in prison, Leonard made a prayer to God and said, God, if you get me out of here, not that I'm a celebrity, but if you get me out of here, I will serve you. And God did. And that's what he started to do, to move around in the community. This is in 1981. Go to the shubins, go to the bars, go to the clubs where people from the community were, and would tell the owners, stop the music, stop everything. I want to talk to the people. They looked at him as if he was mad, but he would then respond, well, of course you don't want me to stop because you're making money out of them. And so eventually things stopped, and people listened, and he called people to public meetings. And through the public meetings now, which was held in the annex on the Stonebridge estate, ideas began to flow about what the community wanted and needed. So giving it to the youngsters so that they could sell, pretend it was hot, it was legit, but in using their street skills, their business skills, if you like, of how to source a product, how to price a product, how to find your customer, how to get the right price, how to make a raise. All of these were done positively, constructively, to give people opportunities. There were people running pool machines and slot machines. There were people like yourself running various classes, dance classes, drama classes. I remember Paul Anderson running an electronics class, run an alarm system. And the challenge was to all of those light-fingered people, if you could break this alarm, you get a prize, as it were. Nobody broke it. And Paul, and all of these things, and not just that, sports, maths, English, Bible studies, these were just kind of embryonic services that were involving people on a mass number to get involved. And eventually, when the project came about, it was these embryonic things that are reflected in the Bridge Park project. But before I jump to that, let me just say one more thing. It's because of this interaction with the community that HPCC had developed credibility with the community. One such meeting that took place in the annex was with the new police recruits, because there was a Sergeant John Butters from the Metropolitan Police who wanted to meet Leonard. He was a Christian, and Leonard, again, having encountered God, there was a dialogue that took place, and the dialogue was something of the order, well, it's the young recruits that don't have any experience of policing in inner city areas. We need to sit down and talk with them about what it's like to live here, what it's like to be a part of this community. And then the young people who are being arrested by them as well, and felt aggrieved because, they're being fitted up or not treated rightly. Again, the dialogue took place between both the young recruits and then also the young people of the community. So even though there were shouting matches at the very beginning, they began to at least acknowledge that there's communication taking place in a non-conflict way. So when 22 inner city areas rose up in the 1982 period, Stonebridge, which has the largest concentration, Brent has the largest concentration of ethnic minority black people in the whole of Europe per capita in terms of the borough. And the largest concentration was in Harlesden, Stonebridge. If anywhere in the UK should have rioted, it should have been Stonebridge, Harlesden. And the day came when that was actually mooted, that we're going to riot in Stonebridge, and the news got around. But you know what? Leonard, on the day that was going to happen with Juliet and others, I think Lawrence may have been there as well, got in between the people and the police and asked John Butters to give us 5 minutes to talk to the people. And Leonard remonstrated with the local youths and local community and basically said this: why are you going to let your houses get burnt? If you want to riot, go to the rich places where the rich people live in Hampstead and Golders Green or whatever, and riot up there. Whose doors are going to be kicked off? Whose homes are going to be burnt? Who's going to be arrested? No, we're going to riot, but quiet at the negotiation table, and we're going to get what we want. And, surprisingly, the police gave him that space. The community listened. They began to put down their petrol bombs, their axes, their bottles, their bricks, and began to disperse. And there was no riot in Stonebridge. Then the next stage was that Brent saw what could have happened and came down and basically was asking, who is this group that can actually prevent riots? And met HPCC, and then HPCC put to them, we want to buy the bus garage. And they asked us, what do you want? We said, we want the bus garage. The Stonebridge bus garage had been on the market for 5 years derelict. We said, that's where we want to house all these initiatives that we've been doing for the community. Help us to buy that. And the rest is history. They gave us 6 months to raise £1.8 million to buy the freehold of what became Bridge Park, and we did it.
And I must say that was truly amazing. Actually, I think someone maybe on the show wanted to maybe ask a question, but I'll come back to that in a moment. But yeah, thanks for that, Bishop. Thanks for that indeed. I wanted to. You mentioned the annex, and I don't think much people know what the annex is. Maybe you could just explain what the annex was, and because that's where everything started, isn't it, more or less?
Yeah, it was around Brent at the time. Brent had the largest youth and community service in the country, but on Stonebridge, the Hilltop Club was the main club that was run the youth and community services at the time, and that was right next to the Stonebridge estate, on the estate. However, that was controlled by a set of people. I'm not going to go into the demographic of these people. Let's just say that young black people were excluded, and therefore they gravitated to a disused garage, again, a small garage on the estate. And in there, Leonard persuaded the local youth and community worker to get some resources together and clear it out, to paint it, and to get and again, they sourced equipment. And so it was literally a disused garage, which was refurbished and used for the community use.
Well, thank you very much for that. It looks like I just had to turn something on the YouTube and on one of the channels so everyone could hear you properly. So thank you guys over there in Zoom for that. Appreciate that very much. Yeah, the annex where it started. So you have the annex we were involved in a few places, in the Annex, the Hilltop Club. You remember the Hilltop Club?
Yes, I do. Although I didn't really have much to do because coming from my background, I was a Christian at the time. I wasn't going to dances that were being held in the Hilltop Club. In fact, let me just say this to you: I was a youth and community worker at the time, and I used to work in Willesden in what was called the Betborough Hall or the Dudden Hill Community Centre. And I was jointly running that centre for young people again, but mainly from the Willesden area. So we used to run dances there, etc. And I used to have to be there until 3 a.m. in the morning, helping to close up and make sure that nobody hurt themselves. Let's just put it that way. But as for Hilltop, no, I didn't manage to stretch that far.
No problem, no problem. Well, we were involved. Obviously, the Annex, the Hilltop Club, and Bridge Park. And obviously, when you came in, you went straight in. You went straight into Bridge Park, didn't you? Side of things.
Well, I did do one or two classes, as you rightfully said, in the Annex, and mainly running Bible studies and Sunday school and things of this nature. I was there at that time. So before we actually acquired the bus garage, and then when we acquired the bus garage at the very beginning, seeing the porter cabins come because we needed somewhere to have an office. I think it was required in the security on the site, and HPCC helped do the security as well. And then, yes, from the very, very beginning of starting to get the first funds. In fact, I put it this way, I was sponsored by Her Majesty's government, the benefit office, to help work at Bridge Park, as we all were. We used to have to line up and get our gyro. And this is me now. I don't know what you know, but I was a graduate at the time. I'd been to the London School of Economics to pursue a master's in economics. I was lecturing for a while whilst I was doing that master's at Kingston University. But no, I did not want to get a job per se. I left the LSE, became unemployed, and said, no, I'm going to work for this group voluntary, like everybody else, so that we could build and not destroy.
Yeah. I do remember the gyro back then. I'm not so sure. Is gyro a term that is used today? I'm not even sure.
That's what you used to get paid in gyros, yeah.
Gyros, yes. Just wanted to ask you this question, actually. What was your remembrance or recollection of the community spirit that was among us in terms of what was happening in HPCC, the Annex, the Hilltop Club? What was your recollection of what was going on in the community in terms of the community spirit towards HPCC?
Oh, it was fantastic, because if you think about HPCC, literally was birthed out of people in the community saying, yes, we want Leonard to be the leader. Yes, we want these people to become part of the HPCC, the Harlesden People's Community Council, because they will talk for we, as it were. And I joined in. I was co-opted onto the council a little bit later, after the very beginning. But you asked a question, and I led a little community. How shall I say? Community conference at the training centre in College Road, and the whole mass number of the community came there, and we talked about that spirit. We talked about, it was like, imagine we're in Egypt. The people are in captivity. And what we're doing now is that we are moving towards the promised land. We've come out of captivity. We're going to build our own project. We're going to build businesses. We're going to build a future. And I remember leading that talk, and I talked about there's 7 years of plenty. We're going to get the resources. We're going to get the money. We're going to get the Bridge Park. We're going to build Bridge Park. But you know what, brethren? It's going to come a time when the money will run out. And therefore, we need to be self-financing. We need to be autonomous. We need to, empower ourselves so that when the money run out, we can still continue to feed ourselves and our children and that sort of thing. And so we use these examples to help boost people. And obviously, here comes the challenge for HPCC, because there's a high level of expectation, because we've started something, we prevented a riot. People said, look, You are our leaders. We expect you to deliver. There's a high level expectation on that level. But then when you're having to deal with the European Social Fund, we were the first group nationally to get a grant from them. When you're having to deal with the Manpower Services Commission, when you're having to deal with Sports Council and Department of Environment and Home Office and London Borough of Brent, you have to put on another set of hats. And you have to also talk professional, act professional, become rather bureaucratic to be able to write the reports, write the plans, and get the funds that are needed. And there was this tension on the group in the very middle, trying to be spontaneous and support and represent and be a part of the community, but then also trying to be bureaucratic and also entrepreneurial to actually make the money and get the resources that we need to build the project to fulfill the promise that we just gave to the community. And that was the big challenge for HPCC at the time.
Well, you certainly did a great job among us, because I wasn't going to do any of those writing, and I don't think Leonard was going to do any. So you really did do amazing among us with regards to a lot of the bureaucratic stuff, and eventually we had to learn it, all of us. But no, appreciate that. Just wanted to jump down to Bridge Park. Obviously, Bridge Park was done in phases, wasn't it? You want to explain the phases that we went through?
Yeah, after the 1.8 million pounds that we raised that mainly from Department of Environment, GLC, and the local authority. Here comes the issue. You now have a project, but where's the money to build it? Where's the money to refurbish it? So we put in phases, because there was one, the office block of the bus garage we call that phase one. And into that phase, we decided that one of the first things we wanted to have was a nursery provision, so that mothers, etc., could actually have freedom to join in the training, gain a job, etc. So we established a 30-place day nursery. Also in that building, the major usage of that building was for an information technology center. And Brother Errol, I know you were the chairman of that organization that we set up to run that. That's what the alarms class became. It became an information technology center, training 100 16 to 18-year-olds on what was then called the YTS Youth Training Scheme. So there's youngsters, imagine this, from the community, were getting paid whilst they learned. And as they learned, they were learning in a sector of the industry, which would be a growth sector, so that we knew that they would get employment coming out of that. The first 6 months they were in that, they did general studies, as it were, both hardware and software, but also enrolled in college. And after the first 6 months, they then had to specialize in either hardware or software. So imagine this, we had post-trainees coming out of that center who were specialists in a particular industry. They were put on placement also with various companies, and then also they were qualified as well. So quite frankly, Brother Errol, we spent £500,000 developing that building, and we were getting 100% success rate of youngsters being trained and gaining employment after their training. And just to say, the third use of that building, we got some money from the Sports Council to build changing rooms there, because we had wonderful sports teams that were using the recreation ground to play football and the like. And so those changing rooms were built into that first phase.
Yeah, I must say, I mean, it was very, very successful, as you mentioned, the amount of children we had in the nursery, the amount of young people we had also in the ITEC and keeping them off the street. In actual fact, I want you to just build a little bit on the ITEC, where you talked about Paul Anderson, and maybe you want to just enlarge on the fact that Paul Anderson was running his own business. He stopped running his own business and took this alarm class into the ITEC. Just enlarge on that a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think you said it, sir. I mean, sacrifices were being made by everybody to actually help build for the community. And that story I told earlier about the alarm class, nobody was able to break the alarm, as it were. So that was great marketing. And then, obviously, in terms of the design of the new building, Paul was integrally involved in that, setting up the design and where workstations would be, and the initial funding of that project as well. And so, yes, he became the first manager of the iTech. So imagine this. You can ask people, ask Brent if you will, where were the ideas that came, where did they come from to actually have the facilities in Bridge Park? And I doubt if they would be able to tell you. But we know exactly where every single one came from. So the iTech came from an alarm class. We had the sports hall and the gymnasium and the squash court in phase 2 came from the fact that we were running clubs in the community that were actually highly successful, winning their leagues, etc. So we had youngsters in the football league, we had youngsters in basketball leagues, we had youngsters in table tennis leagues, we had youngsters in the squash clubs, squash leagues, and they gave the kind of feasibility study for getting those sort of facilities in place. And sorry, if I were to go on just a little bit about phase 2, and then all of these business ideas, because again, give a man a fish, the old Chinese proverb says, you feed him for a day, teach him to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. We developed 32 starter business units. I think you might call them incubator business units today. In other words, we were the first group in the borough, not even the local authority was doing it at the time in 1982, having managed workspaces for starter businesses where if you had an idea, we could take you through the whole business planning process and into acquiring your funding and then into a space where you could actually run your business. And so that clip that you showed of the Prince of Wales walking around on the Royal Opening in 1988, and interviewing one of the business owners, Mr. Wilson, as it were, and how he was talking about how HPCC helped him to get his business off the ground. Now, that's exactly what we were doing. How would you expect people who are unemployed with no qualifications in what we would call a depressed economy of the borough to be able to suddenly gain these skills and opportunities? That's what HPCC were doing. We were building, through everything that we did in the project, a bridge into empowerment and into development so that people could develop their skills and attitudes and be able to eat, be able to feed themselves. You are an example of that, my friend, as well, because we developed Scholars, a training company that would train young people from off the streets who had no background, no qualification, to actually turn them around, boost their confidence, and then in a kind of way, help them to now have a progression route from us into further qualifications or even their own businesses or into employment. And the amount of graduates that we had coming back saying, thank you for helping me. I now have got a brand new car. I've now got a job. I've now got a new career. I've now gone on to study. It's fantastic. That was real community development work.
Excellent. In fact, I just wanted to bring back the picture of what you just mentioned with regards to Cecil, because he ran one of the business units, and we actually chose him that he would actually, take that section of the business units to introduce the Prince. And I think that was such a great touch to let him do it. As you know, you're probably not aware, he's passed away some years now, has died, yes. And so we pay tribute to him tonight. But he is the one that we chose to show the Prince around. And he did such a great job as well.
Yes, and I'm the one in between the Prince and him at the back there with the bushy moustache.
I didn't even notice.
That's me.
Yeah, let me just play this. Let us play this a little bit. Yeah, let us play this a little bit.
At that time.
Yes, I could see you there now. Yes. I think what was interesting, I don't think anywhere on any of the videos of the day you'll find. Yes, there was a photograph of me, I think, which we took. But no, it was a great day. But the Paul Anderson did an amazing job, and he's still around. He's an HPCC director, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't focus as much on Paul. Paul is such a great guy, brought up in the local area. Wasn't, I would say, a gangster, but had a heart which actually made him want to be involved. And Paul is still involved today. He's developed our integrated management system for HPCC. He's the one that was one of our testimonies in court recently in the battle to save Bridge Park from being sold. So Paul is still here. And ask yourselves the questions, viewers. How many people from 40 years ago could you put your finger on and saying they're still the same person today as they were then? Still positive, still serving, still haven't sold out. And I'm saying to you, these HPCC guys, including myself, we are still all there, still all serving the community in various different guises. 40 years later.
Amen. And in fact, the majority of us have been serving the community in different ways. Even though you've moved to Birmingham, you've been doing an amazing work in the Birmingham community, pastoring and administrating and other things. So, it's just truly amazing.
I'm chairman of an organization called Prison Link, and we rehabilitate offenders, and we've trained about 3,000 people in the criminal justice course that we run. I'm also chairman of Families for Peace, that's working amongst young people at risk of committing crime in gangs, and also families that have been bereaved through gang violence. So all of these things that we've done in HPCC have not been left idle. We have continued it, we've expanded it, we've moved it into other areas of the country.
You mentioned about scholar, and I don't. Maybe people are not fully aware, because I suppose when we use certain terms, we understand, but sometimes the people may not understand. So maybe you want to expand about what scholar is, how much people we dealt with over the years, and what it was really all about, how it was founded. Go ahead.
Right, scholar literally stands for Stonebridge Community Learning Resources. That's how we started off with that name. And so, if you like, to really keep this kind of development, momentum going, we asked ourselves the questions, and it was myself and you, Brother Errol, that really started this off in my front room. I seem to remember we designed our first course in Scholar. It was really to package, if you will, the learning that we'd received and the motivation that we'd received to be able to do HPCC and to build companies, a group of companies, as well as to build Bridge Park. And what were those skills, and how could we impart those skills to a new generation that will be coming up, or even to the existing generation, to help people to free themselves from the dependency, is what I would say, that people were in. So we designed this course really to present to people a mirror of themselves, and to also then motivate them, not just to leave them with a negative picture, as it were, but then to say, well, here are some of the skills, soft skills, interpersonal skills, personal skills that you need to develop if you're going to be successful and to be able to take control of your life. And so what we did, these courses included things like goal setting, problem solving, decision making, time management, creative thinking, leadership, a whole range of these. And we put them together into what we'd call a 20-session management course. And Brother Errol, you're the first one that actually got them accredited, the National Examining Board of Supervisory Studies, which then was taken over by the Institute of Leadership and Management, which is the management arm of City and Guilds. So it's a global organization that accredits the courses that we've designed. And that's where I think you help. And we also looked at it as well, because you and I were both involved in the youth and community training courses, the part-time introduction to youth and community work that was being run in the council-owned College Road Centre. I was running that centre for a while. And we thought, well, actually, and I reflected, because I was a youth and community worker as well, I think this is not adequate enough. It's not giving people the tools and the skills that they really need if they're going to succeed in life. And so we took the platform and the structure that presented, but then we filled the content out with all the kind of skills I've just talked about, and then we got it accredited. And we're still running that course even today. I've run it 4 times in Birmingham, and people, and to give, and you said in 2006, after running it twice in Birmingham, I brought a whole coach load of graduates down from Birmingham, and I think you booked out the Acton Town Hall for a graduation dinner, the award ceremony, and we had 600 graduates there, didn't we, having dinner together. And that's just those who could make it, let alone the ones that we'd already trained beforehand.
No, I think the interesting thing is, as I listen to you speak, I'm remembering some of the things that we've done, because it seems as if I've forgotten a lot of the things that have been done, because when you do it out of your heart and you're not looking for reward, to you it's like it's nothing that we've done. But I remember also that we did. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you, but that's also a problem, because in the local authority right now, you have councillors and chief executive and senior officers who know nothing about what we've just said, who think that HPCC was just another community group that just come along and we like to waste money. No, we built people, and we built a community, and we built projects where people's lives were transformed. And so it is important what you're doing on this platform, sir, because it's keeping alive the memory. You're the one that said, remembering is learning. And if ever we forget, then where is the hope? Where is the vision? Where's the perspective? So this is important what you're doing, sir.
Absolutely. One session I never forget that we did, if you remember, over in the south of London with some homeless folks. I don't know if you remember that. That was truly...
It's one of the homeless hostels that I used to run. Because it was in the Shaftesbury Society. I was assistant director of urban action. Now, this is where we went to after Bridge Park. And one of the homeless centres, I introduced us and the course that we were running. And I remember my wife, Jennifer, used to travel from Hemel Hempstead down to Bermondsey, because that's where the project was in South London, by public transport to come and to train homeless people in the hostel. And you and I were there as well, and to get them management certificates that will help to transform their lives. And I thought you were going to talk about the couple you picked up off the street in Covent Garden.
I had that in my mind, actually, and I probably just mentioned it. And I was going to ask if you do remember. It all started, actually, when we sang at our church, sang at Covent Garden. And, it started there where he asked me for £1. And what happened was... I gave him the £1, but I then asked him, would he mind if I come and see him on the Wednesday? And so Hepzibah and I went on the Wednesday, took them to a restaurant, and I felt really bad because I wanted to do more. So I remembered that we were running a scholar retreat, and I remembered, believe it or not, there were 2 of them. It was himself and the young lady, and I then remembered. Yes, I remembered immediately that we had 2 spaces that we couldn't fill. So I asked them if they would like to come on the course, but not to do the course, but to come and just be there for the week. Yeah, just spend the weekend, eat, drink, and that type of thing. Well, Bishop, they came, as you remember, and they did every session. And when they graduated, if you remember, it was the mayor of Brent and Gary Mason. I don't know if you remember Gary Mason.
Heavyweight champion of,
Yes, he's died. He's passed away.
No, I gathered that, yes.
Yes. So, yes, it was them who came and gave the certificate. I want to tell you, you probably don't know this part of the story. I was at Bridge Park once, and a gentleman phoned, and he said, is your name Errol Williams? So I said, yes. He said, how did you do it? I said, how did I do what? He said, how did you do it? eventually he decided to come and see me. And what happened was he read in the Evening Standards magazine, it was the Evening Standard magazine, about the two individuals that we're talking about, that they were no longer homeless. They now got their own flat. And he wanted to know how did we manage to get them off the street, get them into place like that, and so on. So, I mean, there are so many success stories that we could talk about. But let me just move on a little bit as we come into a close. We're gonna have to bring it back, Bishop, because you just got too much. It's just too much. But I wanted to touch on, finally on the Bridge Park, because you were our CEO.
Yes.
You are a chief executive officer.
Yes.
And a lot of things went on, and I must say congratulations again, because in our very first year of trading, we turned over 52%. The profit of money that we needed. This was something that was not expected, but yet it was achieved. Just give us maybe two experiences of Bridge Park. We don't have time to go into all of it. We'll be here for another couple of weeks, I suppose, but maybe your reflection on Bridge Park. Mm-hmm.
If I could just pick up that point that you made, Bridge Park at its heyday, I counted as 3,000 people a week. You said last week it was 6,000 people a week were passing through Bridge Park and in some way receiving services that we had created. If you remember the story earlier, I talked about the promised land and moving from captivity to the promised land, and how 7 years of plenty would turn into 7 years of famine. Well, we knew this, and we didn't just talk about it. That's why in the actual project itself, there were profit centers built in. We had a bar. I was the licensee for the bar. I was the licensee for the entertainment's license. So we had a 400-seater hall that we rented out, and we had plays and people. Who's that Jamaican comedian, Oliver Samuels? We had Oliver Samuels even appearing at Bridge Park in the entertainment hall. In the entertainment hall, we put on a free concert. So the church had booked that out as well. In the main auditorium, we had 1,250 seats that could be in the auditorium. And if you saw that, again, the clip where the Prince of Wales gave his speech, that was the hall in which we used for major conferences and events. We had in the Black History in the Hall of Fame, major Black production, and people from all over the country were coming to see that production in there. And so if you look at it, our conference center, where we could seat 120 people, our entertainment hall, where we could seat 400 people, our hall, a major sports hall, where we could seat 1,250 people, made us a major conference in venue. And I think we had 100 places in our car park to be able to take the people that would come to such events. We had the bar, we had a restaurant, we had a cafe area as well. We had the income that was coming in from rental of the business units. We also had the income coming in from rental of we rented the space to the iTech and also to the nursery, the 30-place day nursery. And so when we, as Brother Errol has actually spoken, when we opened the first full year of trading, 52% of our turnover we made ourselves. So the rest, the 48%, came from grants. And so that was in the first year. And so imagine this, because what our intention was to increase that flow of income from the resources that we would generate and reduce the loans, or not just the loan capital, the grant capital that we were receiving, so that we would be able to have a self-autonomous community project. Some people looked at us and said, well, here's a definition of bad management. I heard that in one of the business management courses, we were being held up as a definition of bad management. Can I ask you this question? If you were going to set up a major multi-million-pound project, would you put it in a deprived community where the majority of people are unemployed? Would you put it there? Would you take those same people and actually give them the skills to help build the centre? Because we turned £500,000 worth of contracts back into the local community through local community businesses and employees. Would you use those same people to run those first-class services that people would pay for? And now, if it was a normal business operation, you'd look for a high street. If it was a normal business operation, you employ the very best of the best. If it was a normal business, and this is exactly what happens. When you look at some of the films about Ted Watkins came and visited the site, all he could see was white workers. And I was asking the question, where are the black workers? And so we had to get onto that very quickly and put our foot down and said, no, we need our own people to have an opportunity to do this. And so imagine this. I'm not going to talk about our hands being tied behind our back, but I'm saying we did it the hard way. And this was, for many of us, the first time we were setting up and running a multi-million-pound project, but we employed local people. And then the final thing I will say, in terms of providing the services, because of a depressed economy, you can't charge the prices that would price the local community out of it either. So we're never going to make millions and millions of pounds because the profiteering would be at the cost of our own people. So we trained the people, we employed the people, we provided services in an affordable way that people could afford to buy those services and not be shut out, as in so many of these communities. You go around the country and look at what we call the gentrification and how people have had to be moved out of the areas that they've grown up in and went to school in because they can't afford it. No, we went against all of that and we did it. And the only reason why Bridge Park is not there fully running now is that we were taken to court by the local authority. And I'm sorry.
Yes. Bishop, there is so much that we can share, but I don't know if there's any questions anyone would like to ask. If you're at Zoom, and we do have a few people in Zoom, and you want to use the telephone system, all you have to do is let me know, and we turn the telephone on for you. Or if not, then you could just raise a question in any of the chat room, Facebook, YouTube, and Zoom, and we will bring that in if you want to ask any. We're finishing off. Bishop will be gone in the next 6 or 7 minutes or so, etc. So no, Bishop, it's been an amazing journey, and we were going to get into maybe later another day into the case and all of that, but I think sometimes it's good for people to just get a flavor from different HPCC's members' perspective, because even though we have traveled the same route, we may have different learning experiences and so on, but Absolutely. It's really been phenomenal. What would you say before we close, maybe one of your greatest lessons from being a part of 39, nearly 40 years? I mean, I didn't prepare you for this one, but what would you say is one of your greatest lessons that maybe somebody listening and they're getting involved in some form of business, community initiative, even church, even charity? What one thing would you leave with us?
One of the biggest lessons I've learned, which I still use today, is about securing your base. Let's just call it that, securing your base. We didn't, and it's part of our naivety, we didn't secure our base well enough and put in place, I would say, protections, because with all the best will in the world, I'm going to be not cynical, but conspiracy theory. Politicians support you because it's politically expedient. I believe that the local authority supported because we prevented a riot. 1985, Broadwater Farm in Tottenham went up in flames. This was an example to the local authority of what could have happened in Stonebridge. And also, dare I say, central government. the Department of Environment were holding up £1.5 million for us to build phase 2. When they saw Broadwater Farm go up in flames, that's when the money was released. I'm sufficiently old enough and mature enough to realize people will go with you a certain amount of the way because they like what you do. But if there's a political expediency, that always helps. Now, once you've been given the opportunity, that's what I talk about, securing the base. There is a need to secure the base. Otherwise, when you're no longer the flavor of the month, or you've done your job so well that there's no threat of riots, and you're no longer politically expedient, then please get ready for them to try and pull the rug out from under you. So what I've learned is that, for example, get a long leasehold on the property, or get the freehold of the property that you're running your project in. It depends upon your business, obviously, that you're doing. But if you want, and you see, one of the reasons why we're fighting still 40 years later is because we didn't secure that base. Now, you can ask yourself the question, but you say, where were the advisors? And why didn't they write that in? And why, if they were so supportive in the early days? Well, I'm sorry, but people have different motives. And also, people also make mistakes. So for me, I've spoken, Brother Errol, to you before. I took that lesson and used it elsewhere, 20 different times up and down the United Kingdom and in France, in terms of doing projects and acquiring properties, securing that base, either long leases, 125, 100 years, so that, you're not going to be troubled, or get the freehold. 20 different projects up and down the country, so that there can be security. And then with that security of mind, you can go forward and perform. And very few, and I've noticed this in Birmingham and in other areas I've been, there are very few projects that remain that came through the 1980s experience that we did. Very few, if any, because none of them secured their base. And the needs are still there, and that's the irony of it. The needs are still there. There's still black on black killings. There's still exclusions. There's still imprisonments. There's still all of these things that we would call racism. But the organizations 40 years on no longer exist or are very weakened because they failed to secure their base. I'll stop there.
Yes, and as you rightfully say, we did have the opportunity, in fact, to secure it, but we wanted the freehold. That was what we wanted, and we could have, obviously, hindsight is a great lesson. And I suppose at the time we were so confident because everything we wanted, we got. But as you rightfully say, there are motives, and there are people who doesn't. I won't go into it now because time is up, but there are people who don't want to see black people succeed on any front and on any level. It's not everybody, but there are lots of people who just doesn't want to see black people succeed.
Can I just interrupt you on that point?
Yes.
Let's not even focus on the black. If you've been given opportunity in whatever color, and you fail to seize that opportunity, and you fail to step through that door, and if you fail to secure it, that's down to you, whatever color you are. And what? So I just want to say this about us. No, let's not use that. Yes, there is a reason, and there is institutionalized racism, despite what reports are saying. But we need to be responsible for our future and know how to do things in a competent way that nobody else can then turf us out when the time comes.
Yes.
And that's what I've done with all the churches and all the projects up and down the country that I've worked with. We need to secure the base.
Yes. In fact, I got a comment here from Nadine. She said, it has now come to light that this was actually an international state that the black community was facing. Thanks for that, Nadine. Thanks for joining us on HPCC TV. Appreciate that. Nadine is a part of our HPCC directors and our team. It's good to see some women on the team, isn't it, Bishop Mike? We've always had women, but it's good to now have some dynamic women on the team as well, because we've been there a long time, and soon we're going to have to hand over the baton. Anyway, I think we would love to do that at this moment in time. I think we've got our hands in too many different things, and I want to say as well, if you remember that retreat we had, looking at you remember what's called rollover load. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, yes.
But it was interesting, the amount of things that we were doing then, and I don't think nothing has changed even today. So we just have
we haven't learned any lessons.
Yeah.
I want to build upon that. Thank you, Nadine. Thank you for Carol, Nubia. Thank you for Yvonne, who are all with us on the HPCC team, because we've learned that lesson. There is no success without a successor.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes. Well, Bishop, I want to say thank you so much. We've come to the end of. We're gonna have to, obviously, you're gonna have to come back because you've got another 2-year worth of talking to do, I suppose. But you just briefly touched on a few things, and I want to say thanks and appreciate the work that you've done over the 39 years or so that we've been in existence all around the country and different parts. And now you're in France as well, speaking fluent French. I wish I had listened to your French lessons a bit more. I would be able to speak a bit better, but there you have it. I can speak two languages very fluently and very well, as you know. I could do English and Jamaican. Is it called Patois? I can do that one. I'm pretty good at that one. But thanks again. Michael Campbell says, when is the book coming out? Bishop needs to write a book, definitely. So Bishop, will you answer that question, please? Brother Michael Campbell has asked, when is the book coming out?
I need some expert help, Brother Errol. I know you're an author of 5 books now, so help me, and I will get it done. I cannot die with it in me, Brother Michael. I cannot die with it in me. That would be a crime.
Yes,
so I will write the book with Brother Errol's help.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's, as you know, one of my weakest areas in management was writing. I really hated it with a capital H. It's become now almost a hobby now. So I'm actually thinking, when am I doing my next one? I had a topic, but I think the market is already flooded with that topic, which is on relationships. So the market is already flooded. So I just thought I'd leave that one. But Bishop, thanks very much, and give my regards to your amazing wife. In actual fact, one thing I did have in my mind to ask you, and I forgot it, was the fact that you actually got married in the ITEC. Your reception was in the ITEC.
It was, yes.
And if you remember correctly, I was the best man.
Yes, you were the best man, and you're still the best man. Yeah, and HPCC did my photography, HPCC did my videoing, HPCC did the catering, HPCC provided the iTech, and HPCC provided the best man, and some of the groomsmen as well. So you were my family. You were my family.
Yeah, it was amazing. I do remember part of the day, actually. I do remember it very, very well. And probably we should have had some of those photographs from that wedding here. Maybe next time we'll have some of them, and that would bring back some amazing memories. But thanks again, Bishop. Yes, thanks again, and wish you all the best. Give my regards to Sister Jenny for us, and look forward to seeing you on Tuesday at our HPCC meeting.
My pleasure. God bless you.
Great. Yeah, you're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Well, everyone, I want to say a big, big thank you to Bishop Mike. He's a part of the hosting of this session as well, so let's get that right. He's a part of the hosting of this, so it won't just be me doing the hosting. It's all the HPCC members and so on and so forth. So you will see him later. We'll be interviewing a lot of different people, You know, if we can interview the Queen, we will do that as well. You know, and people from all around the world. So this is just the start of something great. We don't do things small in HPCC. We start small and we just grow the thing. So it's gonna get better and bigger and so on, and more people will be coming on. So we're looking forward to that. And if we can do this station at 24/7, we will be doing that soon as well, 24/7. Just like you have TBN or, you know, BT and ITV and so on. So that's the idea behind this. But we're starting where we're at. But I want to give you something before we go. And just to remind you, and let's give you some call to action as well, just before we go. I want you to, if you don't mind, just to go to our website. You know, go to our website, and we have quite a lot of things going on at the website. So on the website right now would be, if I refresh it, I'm not so sure, but it should be the actual show that I'm doing right now. It should be on right here, but it's not showing properly. I'm not sure why. But if I click on this, then that should take me to where the show is now. So you can see right there, I'm live right now. You can see websites. So on the website, let me pause that. So that's what's happening right now. But I want you to go to the website, and we do have something really amazing going on there, and we want you to be a part of that. And that is our Hbcc directory that we have created. Now, what we have decided to do is to give 100 places free, okay, for businesses, organizations, and so on. So if you have a business, if you have something you're doing, whatever it is you're doing, and you even want to help, go there and register. Just go there and register your business idea, fill in the form. So you're creating your own web page, your own business page on our platform. Okay, that's what you're actually doing. We will also help to promote you. We're going to have business conferences. We're going to have business sessions. We're going to make sure that we buy from each other and we sell to each other. This is a big thing. This is not something small. This is really going to grow, expand, and get big. So HPCC is alive. It has never died. You know, that's just the beautiful thing about it. So go ahead and do that. The business that we are promoting this week is of Sister Shez Christopher, and she runs a legal practice, not just here in the UK, but also in St. Kitts and St. Lucia and in the Caribbean. So for example, if you want your citizenship of descent to St. Kitts and Nevis or to St. Lucia or anywhere in the Caribbean, she's the person we want you to, first of all, go to, start the ball rolling there. So you can find that on the website. Whatever business we are promoting for that week will be at the very top. So she will change to somebody else. This is her here speaking as the keynote
we are at
speaker.
the point in
She's a keynote speaker here.
Caribbean islands to come.
I was actually there. I was listening to her live. I was there when she graduated to become a barrister in St. Lucia. I was there with my cousin, Sarai. And you can see there are certain videos that she has produced as well. This is a citizenship of
when it comes
of St. Kitts and Nevis, and the bottom one is for St. Lucia. And you can find her details there, her email address, and so on. We were promoting Sandra Mia Designs before, and this is Sandra Mia. You know, I just love Sandra, and she's just amazing. And so you can just click on there, and it will take you straight to her website, and you can go straight to the shop, and you can do your business and so on. We've already promoted Aaron. We will continue to do so. He's a pilot, and that's her mother there. Is his mother, Shez Christopher. And tomorrow we'll be, from Sunday, we'll be promoting another business and so on. So go ahead and register. Here are some call to actions that I would like to leave with you. And this will be my last thing. regularly go to the HPCC website. It's been updated every week, every day nearly. It's an ongoing development and so on. If you want to get in touch with me, it's errol@hbcc.live, and I look at that email every day. So please go ahead and send me any questions or comment that you wish. We do have a public meeting coming up in around 22 to 23 days. It's on the website as well, but the details are there, HPCC 40, and we'll be celebrating 40 years of being in business in the community, as well as talking about our public meeting. And even if it's only 10 people at that Zoom meeting, we're going ahead with the meeting. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day. It was built in 2, I think, maybe more than that. So we're going ahead. We have a newsletter that comes out every month. So if you want to receive the newsletter, go and just, you know, sign up for the newsletter. You will see it as soon as you go to the website. It will pop up in front of you. You can scroll down as well, and it's there as well. If you want to download a copy of my book, Michael asks, when will the book be written? Well, Bishop will be writing his, and I will certainly assist him with that. But I have written my own experience, my own journey. Not so much a journey, by the way, it's our experience, but lessons that I have learned. And Bishop spoke about one today, and I wrote it down actually. And it was secure your base, secure your base. And that's one of the major lessons that I learned as well. If you want to support us financially, contact me. And also, if you want to support us as well, if you're going to shop at Amazon, go to the website, click on the Amazon link, do your shopping, and Amazon will pay us as well for sending you. So that's a way that you can support us. If you don't want to do that, then you can, you know, surely pray for us. We need and we crave your prayers. I want to say thank you so much, all of you, for coming. We do appreciate that very, very much. We don't take it for granted that you are here, and we are delighted and thankful that you are here with us at this time. So I'm going to take my flight, and we'll be back here hopefully next week. It's either every week or bi-weekly, but we will put those information on the website. We'll always send out information, so it'd be good if you register, then you can get the information when we're going live. But generally weekly or bi-weekly. It depends on the diary sometimes, because of things that's going on within the church as well. But it will be definitely within 2 weeks, so we will always have something. It's weekly or bi-weekly, but the date will be there on the website. So please go to the website and see what's happening. Well, take care of yourself and your family. Until next time, bye for now.